It's Saturday, it's Mark Pires, and it's Real Talk! This is the daily vlog designed to help you make smarter moves. So if you have any topics you want me to cover going forward, just let me know. Shoot the message below. Shoot me a DM. My email, I'll tell you right now, it's mark.pires@cbmoves.com. Shoot me a message. I will handle any topic you want in a future episode of Mark Pires Real Talk. So the huge announcement, it's official. You can go to iTunes right now to the podcast store. Type in Mark Pires Real Talk, and you can download, subscribe the first 3 episodes of Mark Pires Real Talk, which are an extended form of what you see here. I just get into topics. Actually, the first 2 episodes are all personal stories. I probably shouldn't even have put them up because there's a lot of things there that, I talked about when I was bullied for a year by these 2 guys in 7th grade, and how my hero, this guy Mike Green, who I still tell my children about to this day, how Mike Green saved the day, saved me when I was a kid. And that is something that I'll never forget. And it actually was something I learned from. And there's a lot of really cool details about that. And we talk about the gig box. We talk about entrepreneurship. And in general, it's just about being passionate. I don't really go in with a game plan, etc. I had the first 2 episodes, I had maybe a short list of topics that I was going into. And that was very cool because I was able to kind of be concise. Actually, not really. First episode's 23 minutes long, the second one's almost an hour, and the third one's about 25 minutes long. Now, the one I just put up last night, the 3rd episode, was so cool. And the reason it was cool is I'm kind of starting to get into the flow of this thing here. And what I did on episode 2 is I discussed how we, as a family, my wife and I made the decision early on that we weren't going to put our children online, photographs, video. We just keep that to ourselves. There's a crazy world out there, so we don't do that. But I have some videos and some pictures of my kids playing my invention, the gig box, that would just be amazing promo pieces. I just say, look how children respond to the gig box. Now remember, the reason that they respond this way is they have access to the gig box. I got 15 of them lying around the house. So whenever I come home, I hear Oliver playing one, or Rosie stops to play one for a few minutes, or even Elsie, she's got her baby gig box. It's called the Gig Box Mini. And last week, because I had a special order for a client friend for a purple sparkle gig box. I made this personalized gig box for them. And my daughter said, I want mine in pink. So I made her a hot pink with sparkles gig box mini. And it's on the sides purple. It's really cool. And she is in love with that gig box. So what I did was I said, you know what? Maybe what I could do is get them to go on my podcast with me. So last night before they went to sleep, I'm laying down with them, and I said, kids, do you want to do a little short version of the Mark Pires Real Talk podcast? They said, yes. I just want you to tell the crowd what you think of the gig box. So what I have here is a short clip of the 3rd episode of Mark Pires Real Talk podcast. This is a short section within the entire podcast, and it was pretty cool to hear my kids and their impressions of the gig box. I mean, at the end of the day, they live with it. It's around them all the time. I know they like it. I know they love it, but I never really hear the words come out of their mouths and what it means to them. So this is an example right here. This is from last night before the podcast actually recorded.
It's Friday evening. It's Mark Pires, and it's Real Talk! I'm actually sitting in bed with my kids right now. They're just about to go to bed, and I wanted to get their impressions of the gig box because we don't put video of the gig box, put video of the kids online. So I'm here with Oliver and with Rosie. You want to say hi, kids?
Hi, and Elsie's coming in.
And here comes Elsie. Hi, Elsie. You want to say hi?
Hi.
So, kids, you want to tell the listeners what you think of the gig box?
All right, I'll go first.
Wait, let the oldest go first.
I'm the oldest. All right, so I just love it. It makes me feel happy, and if I have a bad day, it just brings me back up, and it just makes me happy. Yeah, because whenever you play, you don't want to stop. It's so fun. You're addicted.
I like glitter on my gig box. It's so fun.
My dad, Mark Pires, can make any type of gig box you want. Sure.
And my mom, she can cook dinner.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is going to be a really cool thing, guys. I get into a lot of cool topics. In fact, the first episode is basically me looking back through my first 40 years of my life and starting to break down who I was as a child and how I didn't really see what I'm doing today, obviously, but I was doing a lot of things that should have let me know what I would be one day. And I think that it's important to recognize some of those details in your own life. If you're young and you're growing up, we have a lot of questions. We're always wondering who we are. I remember thinking that all the time, like, who am I? What do I have to offer? That's like a kind of underlying question we all ask ourselves when we're kids. And I remember asking myself that every single day. What do I have to, what am I doing? But I remember always being different. I was doing things differently than the other kids I was playing with. And that's what I really got into in these first stories. Remember, when you're a kid, the whole world is what you know right in that area. So I make some of the statements, nobody else was doing this. Nobody else was doing these things. Well, that's in my community. Playing with these kids, nobody was doing those things. I don't know what they were doing in San Diego or Detroit, but in my world, nobody else was doing these things. And I think that's the important thing to take away if you're listening to any of this stuff is, that's what it was to me. It was, the whole world was so massive when I'm a child. And you only know what's in your own mind and what you feel in your heart. So I was thinking and feeling some of these things, but I never really was actualizing what they were. And now at 40, I look back and I say, okay, so the first 18 years of my life, I didn't even know that I had creativity as far as musically, just everything on the theatric side. I didn't no understanding of that. I didn't do it till I was after 18 years. So my first 18 years, I'm into sports and I'm being pushed in a whole totally different direction. So you look at what you were doing within those sports. How were you performing? And were you always trying to excel? And when you did things, how did you do them? Did you do them like everyone else? Or did you create your own way of doing things? So these are the things that kind of explored in the first couple episodes. Episode 2, I discussed the year I was bullied. And my hero, Mike Green. Still talk about Mike Green to my children, about how there are people out there like Mike Green. Mike Green saved the day for me. He was there to protect me when these guys were beating me up. And I still will always thank Mike Green. Mike got back to me recently. He goes, I was just being just an idiot helping a friend. Well, you know what? That is what I'm talking about. It's about being a hero. It's about not worrying about getting hit yourself. You're going to protect someone else that can't protect themselves. I was such a little kid. Until like senior year of high school. I just never grew. And I was always behind everyone else when it came to growing. So anyway, I know this is an extended Mark Pires Real Talk. I just wanted to get on to share with you guys that you can go onto iTunes right now. And you can download the first 3 episodes of Mark Pires Real Talk podcast. And I hope you enjoy the last episode. I just want to tell you quickly. You get the full breakdown of my kids talking about the gig box and the intro to that. And then also, in the second half of the podcast last night, it was a nice moment of, it's a nice epiphany. I don't know. I haven't listened to it since. I just remember something came out of me. In life, I feel like there's a fire inside of us, and if you hold on to it, it will take you places. And in that moment, it was just coming out of me, man. And I was thinking to myself, it's not even coming out of you. It's pulling itself out of you. It's a really, really interesting thing. So I'm looking forward to listening to that one. And while you're driving around, take a listen, subscribe. Please tell your friends about the daily vlog, and also tell them they can subscribe to this on iTunes, and you're going to get a lot of really motivational stuff. You're going to get someone who's just going to be passionate and tell you the real thing about whatever it is. I don't go in scripted because I want to give you my accurate, real opinion of what this feels, man. What this is, right? This is telling me something at all times. Every time you say, you do anything, this is telling me something. And I always go with it. When you feel like it's an situation. And when you feel like warm and you feel like someone cares about you, like it's I don't know, I feel like we're all very sensitive to that type of connection to people. We are so smart. I always think back to this one time where, I don't know, just someone said to me like, oh, I'll just lie. I'm thinking to myself, we see through. We see through. I know who the people are when they look at me and they say something. I know what you're doing. I just don't tell you I know what you're doing, but I know what you're doing. And you know what you're doing. And maybe that's why I know. I could feel it. I could read it. I could sense your emotion where you feel But I've always been able to sense that. And I think everybody has that in them. Maybe, let me know. Does everybody have that in them, almost like a spider sense, where you know the people who are genuine towards you and the ones who want to just kind of bash you and take you down? I mean, there are people who hide. They hide within, But in general, I think we all, within a couple minutes of meeting people, have a good understanding of if we want to get along with them, if we do get along with them, or if that's somebody you just should say hello and goodbye to. So, anyway, sorry for the extended Mark Pires Real Talk, but we have a podcast now, and I want to make sure you guys know all about it. I'll see you guys soon. See you on the next episode of Mark Pires Real Talk, which will be on tomorrow. And let's get you back into one of my songs on the way out of here. I typically go with this. It's Mark Pires Real Talk. I'm going to see you guys on tomorrow's episode. Go subscribe to the podcast, and I can't wait to hear what you think. See you tomorrow.
I was walking down